Good morning, everyone, and welcome to UK Construction Week Online, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm delighted we can bring you an excellent webinar today. My name is Nathan Garnett from UK Construction Week. And just wanted to, before I introduce today's speaker, run you through a few housekeeping rules or ways you can use this platform if you haven't used it before. I know many of you will have, but if you haven't, just to show you some of the features. So hopefully now you're seeing your webinar like this on your screen. And on the right-hand side, you can see there's a live discussion box, which you can use that to comment on the webinar as we go along, or chat to other attendees as well. If you want to ask questions, you can also do that on the question tab at the top of that box as well, and that will feed through into the live chat as well. And the folks from Xero are online who'll be able to answer questions as well. So I know Lizzie is online to help answer some of those questions as we go through this webinar. So hopefully that's all fairly self-explanatory. On to today's webinar, and we're delighted today to be joined by Becca Smith from Xero, and we're looking at making tax digital and automating your financial admin. And this is really looking at the benefits of cloud technology and how this can help you stay compliant making tax digital VAT returns. So Becca is an educational specialist at Xero with a background in accounting, and she's been doing many webinars and events on all the SMEs and medium to large size companies for bookkeepers and accountants and so on, showing them how Xero can save time and increase efficiency. So hi Becca, are you there?
Hi Nathan, yes I am, thank you very much.
Brilliant. So I'm going to start sharing my screen now. Welcome to this webinar, and looking forward to hearing your talk. So I'm going to hand over to you. I think we're going to come back at the end for some Q&A, which Lizzie's going to do with you. And obviously there'll be questions going through the thing as we go along. So thank you very much, Becca. Over to you.
Well, thank you very much for such a wonderful introduction. Hopefully you can all see my screens okay. So a very big good morning to you all, and a huge welcome to this webinar today, where we'll be taking a look at MTD, or Making Tax Digital, and how you can automate your financial admin. My name is Becca, and I'm part of the Xero education team based in the UK, and it is my pleasure to take you through this session today. Now we'll begin with our agenda. So we have a jam-packed session as ever for you today, and we're going to take a look at the benefits of the cloud and the benefits of Xero, plus of course a product demo. A Xero webinar would never be complete without one. So without any further ado, let's have a look at the cloud. Xero is a cloud-based software, and it can be accessed from anywhere at any time. So very similar to a lot of other cloud-based softwares that you may have seen. So things such as WhatsApp or Netflix, social media, online banking, and much, much more. Now, these online solutions have really brought the way that we live our lives into the 21st century. Before the cloud, you would have had to have worked much harder to socialise with your friends or your family. Or if you missed an episode of EastEnders, you would have had to have waited until the weekend omnibus before you could catch up. Think about your bank account. Most of us have an app on our mobile phone for our bank account, and this lets you check your bank balance, you can move money around, you can pay for things, and in many cases, you can actually even pay in checks. Now, I want you just to take a moment and think about what your lives and your businesses would be like now if you didn't have these apps and these softwares that have become such a key part in everyday life. Just think how much longer these simple daily tasks would take you. Now, you've saved all of this time in other aspects of your life, so why not bring your accounting into the 21st century as well? Now, before we jump in and have a look at Xero itself, I just wanted to talk through some of the benefits. And the first key benefit is control. And this is in terms of the visibility that you would have over the business. The Xero Dashboard that we're going to have a look at in just a moment will give you real-time data as soon as you log in, and that is including how much your customers owe you. The enhanced level of connectivity that you'd get by using Xero means you can securely access your data, so things such as reporting and bank account information, all in real time. You can use Xero's apps that are available on both iOS and Android devices to stay connected to your businesses. You can raise invoices and quotes on the go, you can capture expenses, and even manage projects. Xero provides better cash flow insights because you'll have access to all of the tools that you need to improve your cash flow and help you to run a healthy business. And you can also collaborate with your staff and your accountant or bookkeeper from anywhere at any time. And that means that if you need to ask your accountant a question, you can both view the same data at the same time, making much better informed business decisions. Xero is an ever-evolving product, and that really brings with it some great benefits, such as the ability to get paid faster with online payment services. Data automation comes in many forms, and this is going to reduce manual data entry and save you time. Bank feeds will feed your bank statement data straight into Xero automatically, meaning that when you log in each day, you will see your latest bank statement lines within Xero ready to be reconciled. One of my personal favourite benefits is that we have unlimited users. So this means that you would be able to invite as many users into your organisation as you need to. You can give them each their own level of access, and that does not affect how much you would pay. Lastly, MFA, or multi-factor authentication. This gives you a second layer of security over your login details, and that helps your data to stay as secure as possible. Now, as hopefully you can see from what I've just gone through, Xero really can save you time. It can give you more control and just generally make your day-to-day life much easier. Based on a recent Xero survey, 86% of those surveyed agreed that Xero makes their life easier. And a huge 88% agreed that Xero has made MTD for VAT easier for them. Now, there are three key taxes that we're going to have a look through today, and MTD, or Making Tax Digital, is the first. Now, this has been spoken about for many years. The first businesses were enrolled into it in April 2019. However, from April 2020, the MTD rules are being extended to include VAT registered businesses that are under the VAT threshold. So if that is your business, you'll need to start thinking about an MTD solution sooner rather than later. But not to worry, Xero has you covered. Xero is on the list of approved software suppliers that has been issued by HMRC. And we are going to be having a look at our MTD VAT return very shortly. Another important tax that might be applicable to your business is CIS, or the Construction Industry Scheme. So this was introduced by HMRC in the 70s as a way to crack down on tax evasion within construction. Now, I have seen firsthand just how confusing and sometimes tedious it can be to have to manage CIS, especially if you are a contractor and a subcontractor. And that's why I was so pleased a few years ago when Xero released some really fantastic CIS features that, again, we're going to have a look at very soon. These really help to improve workflows and minimize the time and the effort involved in day-to-day work. This means that instead of pouring your time into manually processing and calculating CIS or chasing payments from customers, you can make much better use of that time. One of the most recent changes that businesses would have seen if they're working in the construction industry and are registered for VAT would have been DRC, or Domestic Reverse Charge. The DRC regulations apply to individuals and businesses who are registered for VAT in the UK and buy or sell specific goods or services. Now, DRC itself has been around for quite some time, but since March of this year, March 2021, it now applies to most supplies of building and construction services. Now, put very simply, the legislation moves the VAT liability from the supplier, who is the subcontractor, to the customer, who would be the contractor. And I'm very pleased to say that Xero has you covered when it comes to DRC. So with all of this in mind, let's have a look at some of these great features in action. Now we'll begin on the Xero Dashboard. So this is the page that you would land on when you first log into Xero. And I like to call this the shop front or the mission control of the business. So this area really surfaces up key business information that you can, of course, see as soon as you log into Xero. Now, the first section of this page is going to be your bank account. Now, Xero connects, as I mentioned, with hundreds of bank feeds across the world, and these are going to feed your bank statement data straight into Xero. And what you would see on this bank account tile is your bank balance, as well as this chart, just showing how that balance has changed in the last month. If your business happens to have multiple banks or has credit cards as well, then you could add those separate accounts into Xero. And as you can see here with the savings account, they would have their own independent tiles. Further down, we have cash in and cash out. Now, this is going to summarize your money movements. So it's going to total up all of the cash that you've had in and the cash you've had out through your bank accounts, and it will summarize this for the last 6 months. Just to the right-hand side of this, you can see the invoices that are owed to you. Now, you may call these your receivables or your debtors. And these are the invoices that sit within Xero that you're yet to add those payments against. So as it stands, they aren't fully paid. And just below that, you have your bills. So any bills that have been given to you by your suppliers that you haven't yet paid off in full. Now, with either of these areas, you'd be able to click through into the figures or into the columns, and that will take you through to your sales area, where you can see the different transactions that make up the total that you were just seeing. Now, just heading back over to the dashboard itself. At the top here, you have the account watch list. Now, this is your pin board for any really important account codes that you may want to keep an eye on. So an obvious one is sales. Of course, everybody likes to keep an eye on how their sales are hopefully increasing nice and quickly. But if there are any other areas you wanted to just monitor, then you can pin that code to this watch list. And you can then have a look at the current month and the year-to-date totals every time you log into Xero. Now, the beginning of the journey of dealing with customers is quite often that you'll raise a quote for them. So if I just head over to my sales area within my sales overview, we do have a draft quote in here that I was preparing earlier on. Now, this sales overview page is going to allow you just to monitor everything to do with your sales in one central location. So at the top, you will have your invoice totals. And so you can see the total value of those invoices at these various stages. You can see the money that you have due to come into your business based on the due dates of your invoices. But you can also see the customers that owe you the most money at the moment. And then at the bottom, you would have, again, those same totals for any quotes that you have raised. Now I can see here I have this draft quote, so I'm just going to open that up. And when you pull this quote together, of course, it's the standard information you would expect to see. So I've got my customer, the date and the expiry date of the quote. And I've then gone through and just entered the details and the amount of this transaction. Now, what you can do within Xero, if you wanted to get an extra layer or dimension when it comes to your reporting, what you would be able to do is set up what we call tracking categories. And these allow you to break down your transactions in any way that you want to. So for my landscaping company here, I've chosen to break the jobs down based on if they are landscaping or maintenance, and if they are private or commercial. So this job here is just going to be a maintenance private job. Once the quote has been pulled together and you're happy with it, we can click the send button. Just going to enter an email address for Sophia. And as you can see here, Xero has pulled through this template message. And you'll find these template messages anywhere that you'd be sending transactions out. So of course, quotes and invoices, but also statements or purchase orders. And these just mean that you won't need to type out the same message time and time again. It will populate the message automatically for you based on the customer and the transaction that you have created. So I'm just going to send this over to Sophia. Now that will land into her inbox, so she can then view the quote, and if she's happy with it, of course, she can just accept it. But if maybe she'd prefer to give me a call or tell me that she's going to accept it a different way, I can accept it myself for her within Xero. So within options, I have the option here to mark this as accepted. And to make your lives easier, what you can do, instead of having to go and create a separate invoice, is create the invoice directly from this accepted quote. And you'll see that that will pull through all of the details from this quote into a new draft invoice forming. So I can then just go through, check the details here, maybe change the due date if I wanted to, update anything here. And then once we are happy with it, we can click that send button. Now what I'm going to do here is actually just copy this URL link. So this URL is what the customer, Sophia in this case, is what she can click onto to then view her invoice online. Now I'm going to just send this over to Sophia, and in a separate tab, I'm just very quickly going to paste that URL link. Now this is the invoice exactly as she is going to see it. So at the top here, she'll be able to see your own company logo. You've got things like the address, the date, the due date of the transaction, as well as the details that you've entered onto the invoice. In the top left-hand corner up here, I have this green Pay Now button. Now this is a payment service. So I mentioned earlier on the automation and the way we can save you time by helping you to get paid faster. And by connecting payment services is one of the ways that you can do this. Now, an example of a payment service could be PayPal or Stripe. So you can connect them to your organization, and it gives customers a really nice, easy and convenient way for them to make payment to you. Now, let's say that Sophia is happy with the work that we've done, and she'd actually like us to do this on a regular basis. So she's after fortnightly maintenance of her garden. What I can do in that case, within this invoice that I've just raised, I have my more options, and from here, I can repeat this invoice. And so once again, that will pull through all of the details. Now she's after a fortnightly job, so I'm going to just change this to be every 2 weeks. We've already raised an invoice for the 15th of October. So of course, a fortnight from today is going to be the 29th. So that'll be the first date of my repeating invoice. And I'll give her a day to pay. Now, if I would like this invoice to be sent out to the customer automatically, then what I can do is just select this option here, approve for sending. And that is then going to allow Xero to send this invoice automatically off to the customer every 2 weeks. So once we're happy with this, we can head down. We can save that, just check we're happy with our template message. And that will then just allow Xero to do that automatic work for us. Now, as much as you can do everything you can to try and help and improve your customer payment days, I'm sure there will still be situations where customers are late with payments. It might be an instant mistake, it might be they've forgotten to pay those transactions. But what you can do within Xero is enable what we call invoice reminders. Now, if I just head over to see all of my invoices, at the top here, we have invoice reminders, and they are currently switched to off. Now, invoice reminders are going to automatically email your customers if their invoices are overdue and the payments have not yet been received. Now, there will be 3 options here as default, so 7, 14, and 21 days overdue. But of course, you can edit these or you can add your own. So we have either overdue by X amount of days, but you can also do due in. So say you tend to give your customers quite a long time to pay, you give them quite long payment terms. What you might want to do is just remind them when the invoices are becoming due soon. So I'd like to email my customers if their invoices are due in 7 days' time and we haven't yet received a payment. And again, as with our invoices, our quotes, we have this email message that is already here that Xero is going to use to send those automatic reminders out. Now, that is a great example of how you can invoice a normal customer, so a member of the public who has come to you for some work. But of course, it isn't always going to be that easy. If you are dealing with either construction companies or people, then of course you may need to consider both CIS and domestic reverse charge. Now, I've already enabled CIS within this organisation, but I haven't yet set up DRC or domestic reverse charge. So if I just head over to my tax rates, within here, you will see my existing tax rates that I can use within the business. But at the top here, I have this nice clear button to add those DRC tax rates. There are 4, so you have both the income and the expense tax rates for both 20 and 5%. So I can add those tax rates. And you'll see here, I just have those 4 new tax rates added that I can now use on any bills and any invoices that I may need to. Now, we can raise our invoices from within that sales overview page that I was just showing you a moment ago. However, as you can see, I'm not on that page at the moment. So a nice, quick and easy way to raise an invoice from any screen in Xero is to use this plus icon just up here in the top right-hand corner. So this is your quick launch key for those more common day-to-day things that you would need to do when you are using Xero. And of course, as you can see, raising an invoice is at the very top of this list. Now, the first thing that I need to do in here is tell Xero who my customer is. So we are working for a contractor, and that contractor is the one and only Alan Titchmarsh. Now, as I'm just typing his name in here, you will see that Xero is just searching through my contact records. it hasn't been able to find Alan Titchmarsh as an existing contact record. So what I can do here is create a new record at the same time as creating this invoice. So I can just click here to add that new contact record. I'm going to enter an email address so that when I do go to send this email out, it's ready to be sent. And I can then save and create that new contact record. Now my invoice number, as you can see, has been populated automatically. And that is just using the standard invoice number sequence that Xero has within it. You can update this. So if you'd like to customize it for your own business, then of course you can do. Xero is going to always issue the invoice date as the current date. So if you're actually invoicing for a different date, then of course just type into this box, or you can use the calendar from the drop down, or you've got the common dates here. With your due dates, again, it's populated with today automatically, but you would be able to type into this box. You've got a list of common dates here, or you can pick another date from the calendar at the bottom. Now I'm just going to be invoicing Alan here for 6 days of labour. So I'm going to enter labour. Of course, I could go ahead and enter the dates that I've worked, the hours maybe, if that's something you'd need to do. We've worked 6 days and our day rate is £200. Now, at the moment, as you can see, this invoice is being posted to our sales account code 20% VAT, and I can see that I've got that VAT amount at the bottom and no CIS. So what I want to do here is just update my account code, and I'm going to post this to CIS labour income. And as soon as I do that, you'll see that at the bottom, I have that CIS calculation made straight away. When it comes to the VAT, we need to be charging our DRC tax rates on this. So I'm just going to go into my tax rates, and I'm going to type in domestic reverse charge, and I can see that tax rate pulls through. And again, straight away, that VAT amount has now been removed. Now I'm just going to head up and quickly preview this invoice. So what you can see here is that we've added this note. So as soon as you go to add or use one of those DRC tax rates, this note is going to be added, and this just tells the person you're sending the invoice to, the customer, there has been a DRC, a domestic reverse charge on this invoice. You need to account for this VAT when you submit your VAT return. And of course, it gives you the percentage at which to declare that VAT. So I'm happy with this CIS and DRC invoice. I'm going to just click the send button and send that over to Alan. Again, we've got this email message, and he's got that URL that he can use to click onto the invoice and view it online. The other side of this is going to be if you are a contractor yourself and you hire subcontractors. So of course, those subcontractors are going to be sending over to you their own invoices for the work they've done for you, and you would need to add that into your own records as a bill. Now we do have the option of using a purchase overview, as you can see here, but again, from any screen in Xero, we have this plus icon, and the second option down from here is to raise a bill. Now, our subcontractor is called Lannister Limited, and so I am going to just find them from here, and as you can see, they are already set up. Now, I have set up Lannister previously, and I've actually enabled them for CIS already. So I'm going to select their record. I've got my date and I want to enter a due date. Now we do have keyboard shortcuts in this area. So just to make this nice and easy, I could do +0. I want the payment, sorry, they want the payment to be made straight away. And that will then just add the due date to be the same as the bill date. Now Lannister was only working for me for 5 days this week. So I can put my labour. got the 5 days, we pay them £100 as a day rate. And what I want to do here is, again, post this to one of my CIS account codes. And what you will see once again is that when I select that CIS account code, it deducts the CIS amount from the bottom of the bill. Once again, when it comes to my tax rates, I can select my DRC tax rate and it will remove the VAT element from the transaction as well. Now, they've also had to purchase some materials for this job. So what I can do is just enter the details of these materials, the quantity and the amount, and I do have a CIS materials account code. Now you'll see that when I select this account code, my CIS deduction does not change. And that is, of course, the correct accounting treatment, because you wouldn't be deducting CIS on any materials. It is just for the labour elements of the bill. And if applicable, I can then, of course, go ahead and enter that DRC tax rate onto the bill as well. I'm happy that that bill is correct, so I'm going to just head down and approve that transaction. Now, as CIS is calculated and submitted on a cash scheme, so it is, of course, when the payments are made, I am going to go ahead and just reconcile my bank and see if there's any payments that have come through for any of these CIS transactions. Now, the quickest and easiest way to get to your bank is going to be from your Xero dashboard. So we saw this tile earlier on, and from here, I can click to go straight through to reconcile. Now, as I mentioned, we do have bank feeds as an option within Xero. So they are going to allow the bank to feed your bank statement line straight into Xero on a regular basis, ready for you to then carry out the bank reconciliation straight away. When the bank feed happens, it's also going to pull across your bank statements balance within Xero. So you can see that as well as what Xero currently has as your bank balance at the moment. And of course, as you reconcile the bank, that is going to be updated. Now, looking down this page, it is split into 2 columns. So this left-hand column is going to be where you'll see the transactions that have come through from the bank. So that is going to be via the bank feed, or if you haven't connected a feed, it would be via a manual import. On the right-hand side of the page is where you will find your Xero transactions. So you can use this section to either locate those existing bills or invoices that are sitting within Xero, or where those transactions don't yet exist, you would be able to create your new transaction at the same time as then reconciling your bank statement line to it. Now, Xero has one feature that is always going to help you to do that matching process, and that is called auto match. Now, this works by having a look at the amount of the bank statement lines. So it's going to have a look in particular at the amount of those transactions. It will then have a look for any bills or invoices that you have within Xero that match those amounts exactly. If Xero can find those matching transactions, it will offer them up to you within your bank reconciliation and essentially ask you if you'd like to reconcile the two together. Now, as we can see here, we have bank transactions for both Alan, who is our contractor, and Lannister, who is our subcontractor. On the right-hand side, we have these green boxes. And so Xero has been able to find a matching bill and a matching invoices for these 2 transactions. So what I can do here is click the OK button, and that is going to match the 2 together. So that is going to tell Xero that this invoice has now been paid, so we can mark it as paid within our records. And at the same time, we can increase our bank balance in Xero by the amount of this transaction. So I click OK, and Xero does all of that work for me. It's the same thing for Lannister. This time, of course, it is a bill. Xero's seen the amount of the payment that we've made. it's found the bill, and we can again click OK and just match those two together. And as simple as that, our bank is now fully reconciled. So once you've gone through and you've added all of those CIS transactions, and of course you've added the payments that may have been made towards them, we are now in a position to have a look at our CIS return. So I'm going to head up and have a look at our reporting. So up to accounting and down to reports. Now there are many reports available in here, so you can browse through, you've got the option to search at the top. But the reason I am here at the moment is to have a look at the CIS return. So I'm just going to click here to open this up. I'm going to go and open our current period, this one just here at the bottom. And what you will see is that it's pulled through that Lannister transaction. So we have, of course, deducted CIS from Lannister, £100 of it, and we have the details of that bill. So the total amount, the materials, and the CIS figure. Now, Xero users that are both contractors and subcontractors, they might want to have a look at adding the CIS contractor add-on. So if they do have contractor duties or responsibilities, the CIS contractor add-on will have the ability to submit the return directly to HMRC, but also have the ability to bulk download and email those subcontractor payment and deduction statements to the subbies directly from Xero. Now I'm going to just download this statement here for Lannister so we can see exactly how that looks. Let me see if I can zoom in. There you go. So you've got the details. We can see the details of ourselves being the contractor for Lannister. At the bottom, you have Lannister's details, and you can then see the details of the deduction that we have made from them. So you can submit that return over to HMRC using that CIS contractor add-on, and then send out these statements over to your subcontractors. Now, before we have a look at the all-important VAT return, there's just one more report I wanted to very quickly show you. Now, the profit and loss is a really, really key report, and it's a great way of just seeing nice and quickly how the business is doing. If you're making a profit or a loss, where the money's coming from, and also where your expenses have been paid out to. But if you're looking to use tracking categories within Xero, then as I mentioned earlier on, you'd be able to get that extra dimension within your reporting. Now I have prepared a customized profit and loss. So I'm just going to head over to this custom tab here. And you'll see we have profit and loss based on job type. Now I'm going to open this report up, and what you will see is going to be a breakdown of those 4 options that we saw earlier on. So I've been able to break down my income and my expenses based on the commercial and private jobs of both my landscaping and my garden maintenance. Now, of course, you could decide to use these tracking categories in a number of different ways based on how your business works. So it might be that you wanted to break it down the way that I have here. It might be that you wanted to break it down based on member of staff or county that you're working in, for example, and just see which areas are bringing you in the most money, but also which areas are costing you the most. And this also allows you to get a profit or a loss figure for those individual subsections of your work. And because I have customized this and saved it, I would be able to come back here every month, every quarter, every year, rerun the report, and then get my updated figures pulling through. So the final thing for us to have a look at in this demo section of the webinar today is going to be the MTD VAT return. Now, I've just changed organisation to have a look at this because, of course, a huge part of MTD or Making Tax Digital is that your software needs to connect to HMRC via what's called an API. So this company that I'm showing you here, this is connected to HMRC via that API link or that API connection. But that also brings with it some really great benefits. So by using MTD, what we can also do is give you this VAT return tile on your dashboard. And this is going to give you your real-time status for VAT with HMRC every single time you log in. And I can click through into this tile to then have a look at my VAT dashboard. Now, to add that tile or that widget to your dashboard, you have got this toggle switch just here to allow you to add or remove it. Now, this dashboard here is made up of 3 areas. What you would have firstly in this top section is going to be, as it says here, the VAT information from HMRC. So this is going to show you the status for your returns with HMRC at the moment. So if there are any liabilities, any bills that you have that are due to them, that will show here. If you are due a refund from them, which would be lovely, again, that will show here at the top. The next section is the needs attention section. Now, in this area here, you are going to have any VAT periods that HMRC are waiting to receive from you. Now, the dates of the returns that in this needs attention section here, they have been pushed through from from HMRC directly into Xero, and they are visible to you in this section here. And lastly, at the bottom, you will find the completed section. So this is going to be where you will find any of those MTD VAT returns that have been submitted to HMRC. Now, even if you have been submitting MTD VAT returns through a different system and you then move over to Xero, you would still have access to those previously submitted MTD returns in this section here. So you would have a section for them and it would just say submitted outside of Xero, but of course you've still got the details of that return here. And that is just one of the benefits of MTD. Now I'm going to head over and review this return here. Now, I will just point out the dates of the return. This company is connected to HMRC's test portal. This is not a real company, which is why the dates are quite overdue. Now, within here, you will have 3 tabs. The first tab is your VAT return. We have details here of any late claims. Now, late claims is a brilliant feature of the VAT return, and it means that if there are any VAT transactions that either maybe you didn't get around to adding into your previous VAT return, or it might be that you have edited a transaction since your previous return, then those transactions will pull through into your next VAT return completely automatically. And that just helps to ensure that you don't miss claiming any of those VAT transactions. Now on this page, you have your 9 VAT boxes, and you also have the ability to adjust those boxes that aren't calculated automatically. So of course, boxes 3 and 5 are both totals. The others you'd be able to adjust. So if you have partially exempt transactions, or maybe you're part of a group VAT scheme, for example, you could click the adjust box. You could enter the amount and the reason for this adjustment. And at the bottom, you will have the option of creating what's called an accounting transaction. Now that is going to post a journal into Xero, and it will do that using the account code and the tax rate that you tell Xero to use. If that journal isn't required, then you can just untick this box. You'd be able to enter your adjustment and click update, and that will then just update the VAT box, and it will not affect your accounting data that sits within Xero. The other 2 tabs are audit reports. So the first is transactions by VAT box. Now this lists out your VAT transactions, and as you would expect, it shows you them beneath the VAT box that they are showing within. So if I just scroll down here, you'll also see details separately of any of those domestic reverse charge transactions. The other one, the other audit report, is going to be transactions by tax rates. And so this breaks down all of your VAT transactions, but this time based on the tax rate that was used to calculate them. So if I just scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see down here those DRC tax rates once again. Now, if you wanted to get more details around these transactions, then what you can do is actually click into the invoices or the bills, and that will open up the original transactions for you. And so, of course, from here, you can see who the transaction was for and all of the details of the job that has been carried out. Once you're happy that this return is completely gone through and checked it, and you're sure that the figures are correct, head down to the bottom and you can click that submit button. You can then just read and tick your declaration, check your VAT details are correct, and then of course click the submit box. This is going to allow Xero to then use that API connection with HMRC to push that VAT return over to them. Now that process takes usually no more than about 30 seconds. It's very, very quick indeed. You will then have a confirmation box on your screen with your receipt ID number. Once it has been submitted, then of course here you will see that completed return. You can review it to have a look at the figures that you submitted and of course any refund or liability. And at the bottom there is the option of downloading that VAT receipt. That will always be available in here, but you may want to download it and save it somewhere else for your own records or share it with another stakeholder of the business. And here it's going to show you the figures in those 9 VAT boxes, the refund or liability amounts, but at the top you've got the date, the due date, and importantly, the HMRC receipt ID number. So that will be saved within Xero, within the receipt, in case you ever wanted to access that in the future. One final thing to just quickly show you in here, and that is this hidden report. So if you wanted to view those VAT audit reports for your own date ranges, then you can do so here. So I can click view, I could select my date range, and that can be for up to a 12-month period. And that is going to run those 2 reports, your VAT transactions by VAT box and your transactions by tax rates, for your own date range. So if you find that you need to run them for a different date range for management reporting purposes, or for your year end, if it doesn't align with what your VAT periods are, then this is a great way of being able to do that. You can export the data and do whatever you need to do with it from there. So we've had a look at MTD for VAT, but that is just the very beginning of HMRC's MTD journey. Now, April 2024 is going to see the introduction of MTD rules for ITSA, or Income Tax Self-Assessment. Now, at Xero, we are committed to being ready to support MTD for ITSA as HMRC rolls out its pilot programme. So we are going to be providing more information on this over the coming months, so do keep your eyes peeled. Finally, we'll also have a quick look at the Xero App Store. Now, the App Store is going to surface up to you over 1,000 apps that you may wish to connect to your business. And these are going to help you to grow Xero into your own bespoke business platform in the same way that a mobile phone apps expand the function that is available to you on your mobile phone. So the App Store is made up of over 1,000 third-party app integrations, and these help you with different areas of running a business. So you've got things from debt collection, conversion, detailed reporting, and much, much more. Now, one area in particular that we are incredibly proud of at Xero is our support. We offer unlimited free support and education to our users whenever they need it. Our help centre is called Xero Central, and this houses countless support articles written by our Xero experts on all things Xero. You'll also be able to find a large selection of educational content ranging from e-learning through to live webinars hosted by different members of the Xero education team. Now, we understand how valuable your time can be. And so this is why we don't let you sit on hold for hours and hours on end. Instead, you can arrange a time and one of our support team members will give you a call and resolve your query that way. Now, how could we end the session today without giving you all some key takeaways? So the first is to go and try Xero for free. Now, we have a no obligation free trial, and this lasts 30 days. It's a really great way for you to play around with Xero and see if it's a good fit for you and your business. Now, with that trial, the second key takeaway here is that we also have created a special offer just for Construction Week. So if you sign up to a trial using the link that I'll share with you very shortly, and you turn that trial into a Xero subscription, you will receive 50% off for the first 4 months. Now, if you wanted to benefit from that offer, we are going to be sending a link out to you in just a moment. So you can use the link in there and you can, of course, have a look at the trial and maybe in the future convert that into a paying organisation. Lastly, I have a date for your diaries. Why not let us show you how Xero works by joining us for a live webinar? So on the 21st of October, I'll be running the basics of using Xero for Business at 10 a.m. And on that date, it will also give you a chance to have your questions answered. You can put them to me live and I will then go through and answer every single one of the questions that have come through to me. And on the topic of questions, that does bring us to a good point to answer some of yours. So I have had my lovely colleague working, I'm sure, very hard in the background, answering all of your questions. So hopefully, Lizzie, you have some of those common questions that you are able to put to me now.
Yes, of course. Hi, Becca. So the first question that I've seen come through that I want to mention is it hard to move over to Xero? People are asking how they can get the data from other software such as Sage, QuickBooks over into Xero and how easy this is.
Oh, perfect. What a great question to start with. So simply put, it is nice and simple. We do run education around how you may want to do the conversion yourself. So if it's something you would prefer to do yourself, then we can teach you how to do that. And we actually allow you to do a demo alongside us where you can do a mock conversion before you do this on your own organisation. But if you would prefer to get somebody else to do the hard graft for you, then within our App Store, which you can find just within your drop down here, there is a third-party company called Move My Books who will do a free of charge conversion for you. So over here we have the conversions option and you will see Move My Books. Now there are other options out there as well, but we work particularly closely with Move My Books. One of their most popular services is called the Convert24 service. And that is going to allow them to move up to 24 months worth of your data from a lot of the other large software providers into Xero. And we cover the cost of that conversion for you. So that is covered by Xero, free of charge to you, but you'll then have that conversion done for you. Now, full disclosure, there will be some loose ends for you to have to tie up. Of course, they haven't got the knowledge that you would have about the business. So they can do the data conversion. You can then just go through and do some kind of loose ends and tie those up ready for you to use Xero going forwards. Great question. I hope that does help to answer that one though. Anything else, Lizzie?
Yeah, so we've got some questions just coming through about like the security and what Xero does to help keep the platform and the data secure.
Oh, brilliant. So we have servers based in different areas of the world, and we have regular backups that are taken. So we do keep your data as secure as we can in case there are any issues that way. But we also have what we call MFA, or multi-factor authentication. Now, I touched on this earlier on, but only very, very briefly. So MFA is going to give you a second layer of security over your login details. And so that means that you would log into Xero with an email and a password. But before you could actually access the data, you need to authenticate that it is you logging in using a different method. Now, that is usually going to be done by an app on your mobile phone, but you may decide to opt for security questions or an email verification. And this is very similar to how a lot of banks work nowadays. I get it sometimes on my Amazon accounts, but also the government gateway. So before you can log in, it will send you a text to authorize that it's you and you can enter a code. So it's a very, very similar process. But something else I would say on that is that we also have unlimited users. So if you're worried about maybe staff being able to see things you don't want them to see, you can create as many bespoke user roles as you need to, and you can limit what people can see. So if you have staff that you want to be able to just simply raise invoices, but not see things like reporting or the banks, because of course that is more confidential, then you can customize their user role and keep those other more sensitive areas hidden from those day-to-day users. Wonderful. How are we doing for questions, Lizzie? Anything else that's come through that's a common theme?
So we've just got one more that I want to talk about, and it's just payroll. Some people are asking if Xero can handle payroll as well as their CIS within Xero.
Now, I could get lost talking about this area for ages. Okay, so yes, we can handle payroll. So Xero does have 6 additional add-ons that you may wish to connect to an organisation. If I head back over into Xero quickly now, you will see here we do have payroll as an option. Now, Xero Payroll sits directly within Xero itself, and so that means that when you run or you post a pay run, it is going to update your account within Xero with those payroll expenses and liabilities. It also connects to HMRC. So when you do post that pay run, your FPS, which is your payroll submission, that is sent over to HMRC automatically, and it informs them of the tax and national insurance that you've deducted from your staff that you would then need to pay over to HMRC. When it comes to auto enrolments, so the workplace pension scheme, we do connect with a few different pension providers to make that process nice and easy. And what Xero is going to do is assess your staff for auto enrolment automatically. And if they are eligible, they'll then be enrolled into the company pension scheme. They'll have their deductions taken out of their pay, and will also produce the letters for you to then share with your staff to tell them what's happened with their pay, why they've had the deductions, and what their options are from there. Now, whilst I'm talking of payroll, I'll also quickly go over the other add-ons that we have. So you can see here projects. Now, projects is a job costing and job management solution. So if you have different jobs and you wanted to maybe have their own estimates or quotes with the different tasks then allocated to them, then you can do that here. So my landscaping company would be a great example. We could have different jobs. Maybe we're doing some new build houses. We're doing some work on a school somewhere. We could add those as different jobs, and then we could add our time and our expenses to the job to see the profit figure at the end. I've mentioned CIS, of course, that is one of those add-ons. We have expenses if you incur business expenses out and about on the go. Analytics, you'll see just here we have analytics, and we have an upgrade, which is Analytics Plus. And this is going to allow you to get some really great insights into the business and future cash flow projections. And the last of the 6 is Wise. Now, Wise is actually an app that will appear in our App Store, and Pay with Wise allows you to really make the process of paying multiple suppliers much, much easier. It will allow you to group together any any bills and create a large batch payment file for multiple suppliers, where you can then send that over to your bank, to Wise, and they can then make that transfer to their different suppliers for you. Okay, so I think from what you've said, Lizzie, it sounds like we are up to date on the questions and there's nothing that is particularly outstanding. So on that note, I will end the webinar there. A huge thank you to all of you for coming along today. I do really hope that it has been a beneficial hour of your time, and you've really seen how Xero might be able to work for you and your business. You have those links that have been shared with you in your the chat box. So of course you can take those away and have a look at maybe signing up to a trial or coming along to a future webinar. But that is it from myself and Lizzie. So a massive thank you for coming along. Enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend, stay safe, and